Throughout the entire MDA meeting, many of us as clinicians had concerns about being prepared for gene transfer therapy. We are hopeful that we will have a gene transfer therapy approved for Duchenne, hopefully in the next 6 months or so. But these products have got to be delivered safely, and that requires a lot of advanced planning and thinking. So Dr. Crystal Proud went through a very, very nice discussion of how do we all get ready and what kinds of things do we really need to think about if we are going to undertake gene transfer therapy. Giving gene transfer therapy itself is not a big deal. Start an IV, give the therapy, it's done. But what do we have to do to think about actually prior to delivering therapy and monitoring and safety afterwards that is extremely labor intensive as we try to keep these patients safe? So some of the things that we need to consider from an institutional standpoint is thinking about the infrastructure that we have. Who are the personnel that we have who are going to be able to deliver the gene product, to see the patient beforehand, make certain that they're ready, make certain that they have been immunized prior to being on higher dose steroids, to prescribe their steroids, to follow the lab monitoring, which is very intense, particularly in the first 3 months after treatment, with multiple lab results, which means that someone needs to look at those lab results, understand what they mean, and if a child is getting into trouble, have a very large team of subspecialists that are at the ready to treat these children quickly. So, for instance, we talked about putting together a team of subspecialists so that we would have a cardiologist, a nephrologist, an immunologist, a pulmonologist, all of these subspecialists that we can speak with when labs or a child get into trouble. And I think that that is exceedingly important. We talked about being friends with your pharmacist. How do you order this agent, this biologic product? How does it come in to the hospital? Who manages that? Who receives it and holds it in their hand? It has to be very, very carefully taken care of at environmental conditions with freezing and then thawing and then being prepared under a hood, which takes a fair amount of time. Who orchestrates all of that? And how do our pharmacists help us with making certain that we are able to treat a child at a particular time? And then if a child is from out of state or far away, how do we support having that patient stay close by the hospital? We know that I think 60 to 70% of the patients will have nausea or vomiting in that first week and not feel well. Do we know that that's just nausea and vomiting from the agent, or is a child sick, or is this a first sign of heart failure? So we really need to be very, very careful about being safe in terms of taking care of the patients. And then, although I hate to mention it, it is very likely, if this agent is approved, that it will be exceedingly expensive. So we will have a line of patients who are wanting to be treated, but we need to go through the proper channels for pre-authorization and approval with each of the commercial payers or with our local third-party payers, Medicaid, to make certain that our patients can be treated. And all of that may be quite challenging. Many of us were concerned that we may have patient shopping. So for instance, if there's a state that has high density with lots of patients who need to be treated, I think California was mentioning they may have 250 patients that would like to be treated. A state like Wyoming doesn't really have as many patients. So where is a patient who is able to, where are they going to go? How many centers are they going to tap to try to be treated? And that is a concern because we certainly want to have equal access for all patients with dystrophy to be treated. And I think we have some ethical issues to think about there in terms of how we're able to safely treat all of the boys and men with dystrophy who can be treated with this novel therapy.